Joining us now is David Henrie, who plays young Reagan in the upcoming film Reagan. David, we're so excited to have you joining us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. So, our viewers are always excited when Catholics are playing big roles in films. And like I just said, you're playing young Reagan. Can you give us an idea of what it was like preparing for that role? Because obviously, you were not. A young man when Reagan was in office. Maybe you weren't even born. And so, how did you prepare for that role?
Yes, it's definitely an intimidating one to prepare for, not just because Reagan was my grandmother's big crush, but because he's such a known figure, right? And people come with a lot of expectations. A lot of people have living memories of Reagan. I was born when his second term ended. I was born in '89. So it was challenging because there wasn't a lot of material on him when he was between the ages of 16 to 29, which is when I play him. So all I could do was find the earliest video I could of him and work with that. And he sounded a lot different when he was younger than when he was older. He was quicker, he was higher pitch, his accents were stronger. Um, so it certainly had a lot of challenges. And then there was the weight thing as well. When he was 16, he was a string bean, so I had to lose like 15 pounds for the role. And even then, I should have lost more. But it certainly had lots of challenges, but it was in the end all the more rewarding because of them.
Yeah, and did you and Dennis Quaid at all work together? So I know he was playing the older Reagan, which is probably most of the film. And you just said that younger Reagan was different, looked different, sounded different. Was there any sort of collaboration you guys did where you were like, hey, did you know this about Reagan? I was reading this.
A little bit, yeah, but I didn't want to get in his way, and I also didn't want to do anything that would affect his performance. So I watched him and I saw how he was doing Reagan, and I just wanted to tee him up nicely because he does carry the majority of the film. So my goal was to really tee him up nicely, and I think there is a really nice handoff between he and I in the film.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see it. So last week we actually had your director Sean McNamara as an interviewee, and it's we again get excited when there's Catholics in these big films. So what was it like working with him?
He was great. He was great. This film had a quick pace. It was definitely one that wanted to punch above its weight, so it needed a director that can have a eye for beauty as well as work quickly. And Sean was definitely that guy.
That's great. And I know that you're also a husband and a father. And so what does your family think of the film? I know you said your wife saw it.
Yeah. My wife loved it. She obviously is behind the scenes seeing me work out every day and try to get in shape and eat clean and all the things that I had to do at the time when I was doing this role. So she is particularly proud because this was a long time in the making. So yeah, she was definitely particularly proud.
Yeah, of course, as wives would be. So, when you are preparing for a role in general, not just this role of young Reagan, do you incorporate any sort of discernment or prayer when you're trying to decide whether to take on a role or maybe to direct a project? Like, what's the thought process that goes into that, and does it incorporate your faith?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to me, my faith is definitely the guiding light in my life. So anything that I do, I look the kind of criterion in my mind is, does this amplify truth, beauty, and goodness? And can this elevate and have an impact on the viewer? And so for me, this project has that in spades, as well as, like a project I will direct. I just directed a film called Monster Summer with Mel Gibson and Lorraine Bracco and Mason Thames. It's a wonderful, spooky family adventure that comes out October 4th in theaters nationwide. And to me, that was at the forefront of my mind too, is what's the truth, beauty, and goodness? Because on its face, that film looks like Stranger Things or The Goonies or E.T. Think of all these sort of fun Spielbergy movies you might have grown up on, and it looks just like that. And that was my goal. But under the surface, it's about good versus evil and about the search and quest for truth. It's a fun family adventure this Halloween that I'm excited for people to see, but it's got a lot of that truth, beauty, and goodness under the surface.
Yeah, and you also have something that was on Netflix, right? A similar, something grim. Not
Yes,
remembering the name.
yeah, Hansel and Gretel, A Tale Dark and Grim, the Grimm fairy tales. That's another one that I produced and got to write for. That got us we got an Emmy nomination for that. And yeah, that has tons of that. Fairy tales in themselves, especially the Grimm brothers, are all about truth, beauty, and goodness. And that story in particular had a ton of that, as well as, to me, it's like what guides my life: truth, beauty, and goodness, right? The transcendentals. Like, I just partnered with Cross Catholic Outreach. I'm an ambassador for them now, and that's a literal way to do the corporal works of mercy all over the world, which I'm excited to bring food and medicine and supplies and boxes of joy, which are these little boxes with presents for kids, that I'm going to be bringing to Guatemala in Christmas time. So it's truth, beauty, goodness is definitely the guiding light in my life.
Yeah, and we've definitely talked about Cross Catholic Outreach here on Catholic TV, so we love that program that they have. Okay, one final question for you. I know this has nothing to do with movies, but I did read that you met Pope Francis after you and your wife had suffered several miscarriages. So can you tell us that story?
Yeah, yeah. It's a crazy story. I'll try to make it very quick. Yeah, my wife and I suffered a few miscarriages, and we couldn't figure out what was going on, and we are really struggling and seeing all sorts of doctors all over. And around that time, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I have a meeting with the Pope. Do you want to come with me?" And I was actually having dinner with Selena Gomez at that time, and I said, "Yeah, Selena, you want to go too?" And she was like, "Yeah." So me, my wife, Selena, and a couple, and her friend Raquel all went over to meet the Pope. And before I met him, I said to him in Italian. I practiced this, so I say it clearly, but I don't know if I remember. This was 5 years ago now, or 6 years ago. But I said, "Papa Francesco, per piacere, puoi pregare per me, mia moglie, per arriva un bambino," which is like, "Hey, please pray for me and my wife. We'd love to have a baby, or we'd love to have the arrival of a baby." And and he took my wife and I around the shoulder. He put his hand on both of our shoulders, and he said, "Don't worry, you'll have a baby soon." And then he put our hands together and put his hands on our hands, and said a quick blessing. And 9 months later, we had Pia Francesca Henry, and we had her middle name. Her full name is Pia Filomena Francesca Henry, and Francesca is obviously after Pope Francis.
I love that. And so she's probably old enough now to know that story too.
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
It's so beautiful. Well, David, thank you so much for your time. We're going to encourage everyone to go see Reagan in theaters on August 30th.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
Yes, take care.
Thank you.